Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com to go inside the zone with Justin Kenny of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and we're talking high school football already at week 3 of the high school football season.
Moving right along, aren't we?
That escalated quickly. But week 2 is in the rear view, and really conference play for all conferences will start in earnest this week. I know the SAC's already had action, NECC, but for the most part, conference action beginning this week. So heading into full-fledged conference play, what's your impression after week 2?
I think you're starting to kind of thin out the herd in terms of the conference races here week 2. Everybody is still in the thick of it for sure, but you're starting to see some teams rise above the rest in terms of, okay, these are the teams that are really going to compete going into the second half of the year, final few weeks of the season in terms of who's going to win conference championships.
If you go back to a couple weeks ago, preseason picks, you picked Snyder, Homestead, Leo, Garrett as your conference favorites. Any reason to think that those teams aren't still conference favorites?
I'm sticking with it. I'm not going to change. I like Snyder right now. Dwanger's looked tough, but really hasn't been challenged the first couple weeks. Maybe that's because they're so good. I don't know. We don't know yet. It's only 2 weeks in. Homestead, again, hasn't played a conference game. We're going to see if any of the conference teams can really match up with them, kind of slow down that offense. ACAC will be a little interesting. I think, while Leo I still think is the favorite, this Friday you got a big game, Heritage and Woodland, and maybe one of those teams can rise and kind of give the Lions a battle. And then Garrett, I still like them in the NECC in their division as well. They got Busco, a big game coming up Friday, but I'm still sticking with the Railroaders.
Yeah, we'll talk about that Railroaders versus Eagles matchup because it is a big one as far as the NECC goes. But our first game that we're going to talk about, East Noble Homestead, it's a big one in week 3 every single year. Homestead has fairly well owned this series. I think they're 8-1 in the last 9, but East Noble, they let one slip away, I think, at Warsaw. I know they're going to be hungry going in to play at Dave S. Walter Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, we were kind of all anticipating this to be a 2-0 versus 2-0 battle, and then all of a sudden East Noble just kind of drops that one on the road, a tough game in Warsaw. So East Noble's got to bounce back quick. East Noble really needs to bring their A game, especially defensively. Homestead had that late night game at Valpo and still performed, put up 39. Against Valpo, and a really interesting game that was delayed by lightning several times. But it's going to be tough. This is kind of the first big barometer game for Homestead for me, is if any of those NHC teams can roll with them in terms of slowing down that offensive attack. We'll see.
And one thing that East Noble has done well, move the football, at least early against Warsaw they did that, and then against Northrop as well. It put some 38 points, if I remember correctly, on the scoreboard. But Homestead's only given up 18 points in 2 games. What do you think about Homestead's defense? Because we always talk about the offense. What do you think about their defense against East Noble, Harold B. Wolf, and the rest of the guys there on that side of the football?
Yeah, Homestead, 2 years ago, 2012, we talked so much about that offense, but that defense was impressive too. 6 or 7 games they held teams in single digits, and like you mentioned, they're off to a good start again this year. So that defense, I think, is as scary at times as the offense. It's opportunistic. It creates turnovers. It shuts opponents down at big possessions, and that's going to be tough for East Noble to really crack. They need a big game on the ground, I think, to kind of take command of that game and kind of extend drives and keep the ball away from the Homestead offense.
All right, what's your pick in this one? Did you take Homestead?
I'm taking Homestead. I think by a couple scores. I think the game last week, I don't want to put too much stock into it because it's a non-conference game for East Noble, but going on the road, losing to a solid but not spectacular Warsaw team, dropping a big lead there late, I think I'm going Homestead by a couple scores.
Yeah, I think the one thing that concerns me most about last week is that Phil Jensen at Warsaw used to be a run with Tristan McClellan. There used to be such a run-heavy offense. This year he's got Jake Mangus at quarterback. They've moved to a more throwing offense. It looks a little bit more like Homestead's offense, I would guess. So that does concern me, considering the way they were able to come back on East Noble.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's concerning, the way they were able to throw on that East Noble defense. Garrett at Busco. We already kind of mentioned this one. Interesting because both teams are coming off losses. But really not terrible losses.
Right.
DeKalb is much improved.
Yeah.
And they're a bigger school than Garrett. That was a rivalry game, kind of a throw out the records kind of game.
For sure.
And then Busco to go to Lewis Cass and lose 16-7. That's not a terrible loss by any means.
No, if there's an impressive loss, I would say Cherubusco had it at Cass last week. They took an early 7-0 lead. They held it for a while. Cass just kind of put a couple big drives together late to win that game 16-7. I was impressed with the way Cherubusco hung in that game. I've watched a lot of teams go to Cass and just get blown off the ball and out of the stadium by halftime. And for Cherubusco to go down there and compete, they added Lewis Cass as kind of a bump for their strength of schedule this year. To go down there, an impressive showing for them, I think.
when you take a look at Garrett's offense, they run the football. Bryant Sumner, good running back. Does that concern you? Because in the Cass game, they gave up 2 rushing touchdowns, and obviously Sumner can run the ball fairly effectively as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that Garrett needs to get going early and often, is getting Sumner in the game and kind of setting the tempo in terms of that game. But, you look at Garrett and dropping that game to DeKalb and giving up the 20 points in the fourth quarter, that's concerning to me. They held a big lead going into that fourth quarter, and to let it slip away just kind of opened some eyes in terms of Garrett, which, in my opinion, I kind of looked at them as maybe above the rest of the heap in the NECC. Now, based on that fourth quarter and the letdown, kind of concerning for me.
Yeah, they got playmakers on that defense, too, like Bo Davis, Tommy Reno on the defensive line, Mike Van de Zanne there in the secondary as well. Surprising, but Will Chrisman is a tough guy to guard, it would appear.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe as the year goes on, we're going to kind of look back at these early DeKalb wins, maybe that week two win over Garrett, and say, that was something we missed on.
Yeah, definitely. Northside at Bishop Dwenger. I think with Northside, we're still trying to figure out to a certain degree who they are this season.
Yeah.
Your guy Keyshawn Watson came up with a big effort against Delta last week.
For sure.
Speedy for a freshman.
Man, they kick and move.
He is a big-time player as far as making big plays. And Dwenger just consistently, monotonously rolling along doing what Dwenger does.
Yeah, isn't it? You talk about Dwenger and people ask me, I'm sure they ask you, how's Dwenger look? It's like, it's just Dwenger. They do things right. They're fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes. They're strong on both sides on the up front, and they're not going to wow you. But all of a sudden you look at the scoreboard and it's 35-6. It's how they roll. It's how they operate.
And I mentioned earlier talking about some defenses we might not give credit. Their defense forces a lot of turnovers, and in 2 games they've given up 19 points.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw that Concordia offense, too, just torch Northside in week 1. Mm-hmm. And Dwenger really shut them down. I mean, Sparks just had trouble. Daniel Sparks all game kind of getting the flow of the offense at quarterback, and they really never looked comfortable. Peterson Curligran was shut down for the most part. They really took away the option and the trap games for Concordia, which really dominated against Northside. So that film definitely helped Dwenger from that week 1 to prepare for Concordia, and I'm sure they got plenty of tape of Keyshawn Watson to look at for this Friday.
2 things that I find really interesting is you take a look at this series, and Northside's won 2 of the last 3. So while you think, okay, Dwenger made the state championship game last year, Northside's held serve more so against Dwenger than many people might think. And also, Northside against Delta, they forced 4 turnovers in the second half. Dwenger doesn't make mistakes. Those 2 battling, the defense being opportunistic for Northside and the relative, I don't want to say perfection, but the lack of turnovers offensively for Bishop Dwenger, that's kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out on Friday.
Yeah, talking to Coach Hall at Northside, week 1, he said, we came out, we were timid. We kind of looked at that bell, too, on the sidelines, and our guys came out with some overconfidence. Yeah, we're SAC defending champs. What are you going to do? They come out and get smacked in the mouth by Concordia. They responded last week against Delta. Now you delve back into the SAC conference and see how they can produce against a team that is really dominant the first 2 weeks. Still a young defense for Northside, but they took some steps in the right direction last week.
One interesting game as far as the NHC goes to me, Carroll at Norwell. Pearson Harnish is obviously a huge part of Norwell and what they do. Where is he at physically? Because he missed a huge chunk of last week's game against Heritage, and they were winning before he was injured.
Yeah, chest wall contusion for Pearson Harnish. He was coughing up blood on the sidelines. They sat him out. He is hoping to play this Friday, actually. He's hoping to get cleared and be back and hopefully be on the practice field tomorrow, which is huge for Norwell. They've really been hit by the injury bug the first couple weeks. And that's a huge game against Carroll. Carroll's coming in with their own struggles last week and only scoring 10 points against Huntington North. But the defense showed up for Carroll and kind of stole that game for him. But for Norwell, having Pearson Harnish not just a quarterback, but just a defensive presence, a linebacker, too, is a key for Norwell.
And for Carroll, Huntington North on paper hasn't had the start of the season that they would like, but only 10 points. I was at that game from mid-second quarter until right at the end of the fourth quarter. They didn't get things going offensively like they thought they were going. We thought this was going to be a shootout. Right. Huntington North, Carroll, in years past, these are teams that put up a lot of points. What does Carroll have to do offensively to be more significant? Because they split quarterback play, and I don't want to go to the old adage, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback, but it didn't seem like they were able to get the traction that they needed with 1 guy in there.
Yeah, you've had 2 different games for Carroll. You've had the dominant game against Goshen in week 1, who was a winless team last year, and Cody Dinan just came out and had a solid game. Week 2, all of a sudden, both Dinan and Aiden Smith, who came in at quarterback, struggled. All of a sudden, you come into a Week 3 game, a big game against Norwell. What direction does this Carroll team go? Is Week 1 going to be the norm? Is Week 2 going to be the norm? So we're going to have to see offensively just how good Carroll can come out and respond to the adversity they faced last week, and we'll see who's under center as well. That could be a big question.
I'll tell you one thing that really impressed me about Carroll was we don't talk much about their defense, but Dylan Connor there in the middle,
tackling
making
machine,
plays,
man.
hitting people. He was amazing. The defensive line got a lot of pressure on Huntington North, and I thought the DBs did a pretty good job of not giving up the big play.
Yeah, the thing, Huntington North, we talk a lot about give up a lot of points, but you mentioned it. They put up a lot of points, too. To put a 0 up there against the Vikings is huge. That's a testament to, especially the back end of their defense, because Huntington North really likes to stretch the field vertically.
A couple other games of note, New Haven at DeKalb. That's a more interesting game,
all of a
I think,
sudden.
than we would have thought 2 weeks ago.
For sure.
Not just the way the New Haven's playing, but DeKalb playing some great football. 2-0 so far this season. Concordia at Wayne. Because Wayne's been on the road, we haven't really gotten a good grasp of what they're all about, although they have put up over 100 points in 2 games.
Yeah,
so they are about scoring. And Heritage at Woodland, you mentioned it. That's an interesting game, too. Could play well into who's at the top of the ACAC when it's all said and done.
For sure. I think that game comes down to Sean Kitzmiller versus Jordan Hart, the 2 running backs. Both guys can really get into a groove and put up big yardage. The big thing, Woodland sitting there at 2-0. They beat Eastside and Prairie Heights, which are 2 solid wins. But they kind of eased the schedule up this year, the first couple weeks. Last year they opened with Belmont and New Haven. They were 1-1 after those 2 games. The momentum is there. We're making a big deal about Woodland, but the first 2 weeks of the year have not been as difficult as last year. So is Woodland an 8-9 win team like they were a year ago? I mean, I think we find out a lot about them Friday just based on the ease of their schedule thus far.
I think we're going to find out a lot about Woodland when a team stops them from running.
For sure.
You know, Rick Ely is a 6'5" senior quarterback. He looks the part at quarterback, but we haven't seen them have to throw the ball yet. And when that happens, it's going to be an interesting ball game, I think, for Woodland. New Haven, DeKalb. What is DeKalb doing that has made them so dangerous? We talked about Will Chrisman. I mean, he's a 6'6" guy heck of a basketball player.
Yeah.
Harrison Price got some experience at quarterback last year, but they're just playing really solid football.
You know, the interesting thing for them is they just stay in games until that fourth quarter. They've outscored their both opponents 39-7 combined in the fourth quarter to steal a couple wins. And, you know, Coach Kemp there, it's 1 week at a time. He said, you know, we're not world beaters. He said before the Garrett game, you know, we're really going to find out a lot about our football team on Friday because the quality opponent in the Railroaders really is a step up from week 1. So they passed that test. All of a sudden, they take on New Haven. A lot of people are thinking, okay, it's New Haven and Homestead in this conference, but, you know, DeKalb could surprise again. Who knows?
All right, and quick on Concordia Wayne. I guess we really haven't gotten a good taste of what Wayne can do.
Yeah,
and
we've heard from afar.
Yes, the reports from well beyond the Fort Wayne limits are that they can score a heck of a lot of points. I think Robert Brown understands that very well.
Sure. Yeah.
But what are they doing under Scott Shaw this season to get things going?
They're putting the ball in the hands of their playmakers. I mean, and it's not hard because they have so many.
Yeah.
You know, but they are making sure those guys are getting the ball, getting them in space, and letting them play loose. You know, letting them make plays inside and out. You know, Keon Powers has been solid. I thought maybe he'd have some dicey moments there early at quarterback, but he played a lot of quarterback his sophomore season. So I think he's kind of, you know, getting back into the groove. And guys like Kai Black have stepped up, and Keon's brother Dion, and guys like that. Austin Robertson's been huge defensively, and at tight end he's a tremendous mismatch there. So, you know, those playmakers are stepping up for Wayne, but they get into the meat of their schedule now. And with only 35, 40 guys in uniform, I just got to see how they dig deep in games, late in games where they're getting tired, they're playing both ways, and see if they can rise to the occasion and pull off some wins.
I wonder, much like with Woodland, what happens when somebody stops them from running the football and they have to go pass first. The question I have with Wayne is, will that happen? Because they have so many athletes and have so many guys they can get the ball to. Maybe nobody stops them from running the football.
You say, okay, we can't let Wayne guys get to the edge, but it's easier said than done with those guys.
Definitely. Well, very interesting as conference play ratchets up this week here on the Highlight Zone. We'll have it all covered for you on Friday. Justin will have you covered in the paper every day, and we'll see you back here next Monday for Inside the Zone. I'm Glenn. He's Justin. We'll see you then.